Hey, welcome to Disenthrall. I am Patrick.
I am Ryan.
And today we have some more awesomeness brought to you by the government.
It's not all good news, but sometimes you gotta get serious.
Today is a mixed bag. We
Yeah.
got mostly, I would say, non-craziness, murderous malintent like
Yeah.
we've had in the past. But
Not everybody's getting murdered today.
but there is a little bit.
Sometimes you gotta break some eggs.
All right, let's hit it.
This is a ghost gun. This right here has ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second. 30 magazine clip in half a second.
All right, kill it. So 30 magazine clip dispensed in
30 rounds of
round
30
seconds.
caliber
30 seconds dispensed inside of a magazine clip
drum.
out of a drum clock. Oh my God. So
This is the guy that's regulating the thing that he obviously knows nothing about.
everyone is bagging on this guy,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, because this is one of those I don't know, semi-rare examples of when the guy ruling you shows the utter ignorance of what he's doing. Like, he has no clue. He's got nothing. He probably doesn't know where the trigger is on the thing he's holding and what even that does, right? But he has the hubris of thinking that he has the right and knowledge and capability and capacity to rightfully and ethically and knowledgeably control your use of these things he knows nothing about.
I mean, someone needs to read these laws because gun control might not actually even exist at this moment.
Yeah, it could just be like,
the laws might not even make any fucking sense to the point.
it could just be like, citizens are not allowed to squirt water from the trigger pull mechanism.
Yeah. It's like, sweet. So basically I can do whatever I want, correct? Because I'm living in reality here, not like just super ignorant
Yeah.
of everything to
But
do
I'm-
with guns.
Well, let's carry that over to everything else. Like, this is an obvious example.
Yeah.
But you carry that over to everything else. These jackoffs aren't any better at other topics than they are at guns. They don't know what they're doing. They're not business owners running a company and creating jobs and creating wealth and creating value and solving consumer needs.
Yeah.
They don't know what the hell they're doing in any other area, environmental regulation, anything.
Yeah. I can imagine experts of certain industries and stuff everywhere around the world. Every time I hear a politician talking about their specific
Yeah.
industry, they're like, "Oh Jesus!
God damn it.
Oh God!
He's talking about it
I
again.
can't even keep my headphones
Yeah,
on."
every time, and yeah, this is just a good example of that.
Yeah.
The hubris.
30 clip magazine.
Hubris. Am I saying that right? The hubris.
Yeah, hubris.
The gall, the balls, the blind balls you have to just decide and think that you know enough to rule other people and to make laws to govern other people without actually knowing what the hell you're talking about.
Talking heads. They have people like aides that know more than they do.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I wanted to say about that.
Yeah.
That it was a good example for guns, but the problem is everywhere in all areas.
These
that
are
they're
the
trying to
people
regulate.
controlling your lives.
Yes, and they
Be
think,
afraid.
and they think they're smart enough to do it.
Yeah.
Assholes. Okay, so next up we have another gun story out of Tennessee this time. This one is interesting. Because as a gun owner and a gun advocate for self-defense, when I first read the story, I was like, hell yeah! So basically what's happening is Tennessee was about to pass a law called a duty of care law. It's kind of the type of law that we're talking about here. What that means is if you own a business or a property or something, and you post a sign that restricts people's ability to come on your property with their firearms, that you are now civilly liable for the safety of the people that you're disarming on your property. So at first glance, my knee-jerk reaction was like, hell yeah, these assholes want to disarm me before I can go into a restaurant to have dinner. If somebody does bust in and shoot at me or injure me or, God forbid, kill me, there should be some repercussions, right? There should be, right? Like my family should be able to sue you. You disarmed me. I might have been able to protect myself if you hadn't disarmed me. And that was my, I was just like, yeah, I almost said hashtag America again.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, wait a second. What if it's private property? Here we have to be consistent. It seems great on the surface. It feels good in the first moment, but like this quest I'm on for consistency across the board just kind of jumped in, like gut punched me. And it's like, oh, wait. They own that property. That's their property. They have they should have complete control over what happens and what doesn't happen on that property because it belongs to them. So this is one of those situations where you have to back up for 1 second and recognize the rights that you want other people to respect for you. And if they want to do stupid things like disarm you on their property, don't go on their property. That's your right. And it's their right to keep your guns off their property if they want. Because that's how it works. That's called freedom. So this law is no better than the gun blocking laws. It's just on the surface, it feels good. It feels right. And there's other problems that can come from this too, right? So let's say you're on somebody's property or let's say you're not you're a gun owner, but you don't really carry every day and you're on somebody's property. Or even if you're not a gun owner, let's just say you're on somebody's property and something bad happens, and this is one of those properties that's banned guns, and this law is in effect. How easy would it be for you to say in court, well, I'm suing the property owner, when something bad happened, I got injured on their property because some nut job came in and started shooting up the place and I couldn't defend myself. And you sued him, and you're like, well, he didn't let me have guns on his property. So it's just like a massive liability for property owners that decide to keep guns off their property. Remember, because like my gut reaction again is, well, they want, if they're going to disarm you, they got to protect you. No, it's their property. They can disarm you if they want, and you don't have to go there. But this law just makes it a massive liability for them. If something does happen, people that wouldn't even have actually had a gun at the time could still sue you.
Just plain devil's advocate, would this fall under negligence at all?
Negligence for who? Who's negligent?
The property owner.
Why?
Because he knew that in a time where someone with a gun came on his property in order to harm other people, that he wouldn't be able to protect anybody on his property.
Yeah, but that puts the guilt of the attacker on the property owner. But the bad guy in this situation is the guy that's invading the property and shooting people up, not the property owner. He's peaceful. He's peacefully making rules for his property.
Right.
That's what I would say to that. So another interesting observation, though, is what happens when you have something like in Florida where the government is the one banning guns from a location and a mass shooting or, any kind of shooting. Anything happens. People are unable to defend themselves because the government has disarmed people. Can we sue the government in Tennessee if this passed? Oh, no, we can't, because it's one rule for you and one rule for them, which is another frequent occurrence with anything government related, right?
Yeah.
So another thing I could say. Oh, wait. So this law was actually set to pass on Friday. It was going to go through. Everything was smooth sailing. Republicans were happy. Gun owners were cheering. And then at the last second, everything changed. They made one tiny little amendment to this bill. Just one little line. And the line said to the effect, all of the language of the bill, yeah, that's removed. Here's the new paragraph language of the bill.
Right.
And at the last second, with no chance for debate, no chance for the public to even know what happened, they swapped out the text of the law for a paragraph of text that literally inverted the law. So now this law passes, and it's actually the complete opposite of what its original intent was. And it basically says now that you can't sue a property owner. That's what it says. You cannot civilly sue a property owner that doesn't post signs. It's just so this whole story is kind of at the end a non-issue, but it's important to talk about because there's many people that get into this discussion of these duty of care laws, where if you're going to disarm people, you now are taking on this duty to protect them. No, you just don't have to go on their property, and that's what I wanted to get.
I
across.
remember whenever, like, I don't know if it was specifically Tennessee, but I remember when this first came up, and I remember you reacting to
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Emotionally, you're like, hell yeah,
Yes.
this is fucking amazing.
I'm
and
not
then
lying.
I just pissed all up in your cornflakes and was like, wait, but shouldn't they be able to restrict guns on their property? And you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no,
It was a pretty hilarious moment because I wanted to be like, hell yeah, too. But then I was like, well, like you said, we have to be consistent.
yes.
It's so important, and it's
nagging-
really hard to do it sometimes, but super important because then we're just as bad as the government. We're hypocrites.
It's that nagging consistency worm that has pushed me from one end of the political spectrum off of the political spectrum to where I am now. It's chasing that universalization of principles, that consistency.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, coming from the gun side, I'm naturally inclined to cheer when things happen that make it easier for me to carry my weapon to protect myself. But
Yeah.
I still got to be consistent. I
Right.
just won't go on your property.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So the next one actually comes out of our home state of Texas, out of Austin. And there's this whole ride-hailing service issue going on in Austin.
Ride sharing,
Or-
Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, well, is it really considered ride-sharing? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. They call it a ride-hailing service because they're not really sharing their ride. It's a company providing a service to a person.
Yep.
But anyways, not important. Basically, I'll just give you a brief description of what happened. Lyft and Uber started their ride-hailing service, that's what I called it, in Austin in May and June, respectively, of 2014, despite warnings of the city of Austin. So they're warning them not to start their service without the city developing a framework for them to basically exist in a city because, this would be a huge competition with taxi companies and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
how dare they?
Yeah, exactly. And if they did start, they would be illegally operating in the city.
How dare you come to our city and start voluntarily contracting with people to help them do things that they want to do willingly? How dare you?
Yeah, so that was back in May, and then
Yeah.
finally in October, the ride-hailing services were given the green light, meaning that Uber and Lyft drivers had been working illegally in Austin for 5 months.
This was 2015, right?
2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're given the green light to temporarily to exist in the city while they were trying to come up with regulations for them.
You may exist
Yeah.
temporarily.
Well, several Lyft and Uber drivers had been pulled over and ticketed by that time for illegally operating in Austin.
okay.
And their cars were impounded too, by the way. God. Awesome.
Robbed and robbed.
I was going to give like a detailed description of all the bullshit that happened, but I just ended up writing a load of bullshit ensues. Because it's just the normal, like, convoluted political bullshit that happens. They try and figure out what regulations this industry needs, and then the companies obviously don't like it, and then there's a petition that happens, and then politicians try and squeeze as much money out of these companies as possible, and blah, 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 blah. Basically, whenever they were first allowed to exist in Austin, they were allowed to provide their own insurance, and the insurance would only be in effect whenever the driver had a passenger in the car. If the passenger wasn't in the car anymore, it was the driver's own insurance that was in effect. And also, the companies could do their own background checks. Whatever they wanted to do.
Uber could, like Uber and
Uber
Lyft
and
could.
Lyft could, yeah. And basically what happened is in 2016, that all changed. They just can't let something rest. They got to think about it again. Oh, we might want to fuck these people over again. Let's try it out.
Poke. Yeah.
And so they're like, well, I'm sure that there was a huge pressure from the taxi companies constantly to try and regulate these ride-sharing companies.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say what's actually happening behind the scenes is the taxi companies have been donating to political campaigns in that city for a long period of time. And now that Uber's coming in, they're like, hey, you remember all that money I gave you to get you elected? Yeah, it's time to, pay up. It's time to pay them back.
Yeah.
Make it worth it.
Yeah, it just so happened that during this time, 3 major taxi companies were coming back were needing to be like reinstated, I guess, by the government again at this time. And then another company was being brought in to existence in the city, I guess. It's the whole political thing,
Because somehow cities have to have control over their taxes.
Yeah,
It's insane.
so crazy.
Yep.
And they're pissed off because there's regulations for taxi companies that these ride-sharing companies don't have to follow.
Yep.
So basically, the problem.
And that makes them really butthurt.
Oh yeah. And so the biggest problem, like the pivotal issue, is background checks. The government of Austin wanted to force ride-sharing companies to institute fingerprint-based background checks on all of their drivers. So that was the issue. The ride-sharing services tried to garner support for it was called Proposition 1, which would make it so that they wouldn't have to do this. And it ended up failing. And that happened May 7th, 2016. 2 days later, Uber and Lyft shut down their app in Austin.
And we talked about this in a previous show, but I was so happy. It's kind of rare that you see a company go against their own sort of profit motive and just say, "Oh, you want to regulate me in your area? Bye."
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right.
So not only were they, I would say that they were forced to leave Austin because, who know? Like they were saying that not only do they have to incur the new expenses involved in fingerprint-based background checks, but it also probably limits a lot of their drivers from even being able to work for the company if they do that fingerprint-based background check.
That's an interesting discussion in and of itself.
Yeah.
I just keep checking for the chat.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I got it up.
Nice. Oh, cool. Everybody's looking at chat, so I'll stop looking.
Yeah. About the background
If you're
checks.
a criminal, if you did something wrong and you go to jail, and you're found guilty, you're given a sentence, you go to jail, you serve that sentence, you've paid your debt to society, which is a completely bullshit phrase.
Yeah.
Right? On
Because
its face.
I paid my debt to him to exist in that jail.
Right, because society is not what's damaged in a crime. A person is somewhere is damaged in a crime, and so you should be paying your debt to that person. But anyway, so you pay your debt, you get out of prison, you're never really free again. Cops, every time you get pulled over,
They know your record.
they pull your record and they treat you differently if you've been in jail before.
Yeah.
They absolutely
They have
do.
like a higher level of suspicion automatically.
If it's a bad enough crime, and well, I should say if it's a felony, because there are some pretty innocuous felonies.
Yeah.
If you're a felon, there's a lot of blanket. There's just some things in your life you'll never be able to do, including protect yourself with a gun.
Yeah, that's a big one.
A lot of jobs are off the table. A lot of certain career paths are off the table. Owning property in certain areas is off the table. Getting loans, like the entire rest of your life, you never get absolved.
Yeah.
There is no.
Now, why didn't you rehabilitate, asshole?
If the goal of our criminal justice system is rehabilitation, at what point does that happen?
Yeah, it's obvious that everything's working against you thanks to all this established framework after you leave jail.
Now, the flip side of that is like, if you're a murderer, that's going to be something that should follow you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, we probably don't want you to work well in society.
But there's a large gray area in the middle where, there's a lot of gray area in the middle where you are somewhere in between. Like, if you're dangerous to be out, you need to still be in prison. But if you're out of prison, you should be rehabilitated, right? And if you've been rehabilitated, we shouldn't kind of haunt you for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
Anyway,
That
was a tangent. Sorry.
Yeah. So not only were they, like I said, forced to leave the city, but there's more. So the about 10,000 Uber and Lyft drivers that lost their jobs in Austin, Texas, are now accusing the ride-hailing companies of breaking a federal law by abruptly halting operations in the city after voters backed a measure requiring them to fingerprint drivers. The companies, they're saying that these companies violated the 1988 Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, the WARN Act.
What?
Which includes an exception for unforeseeable business circumstances, and are on the hook for wages and benefits workers would have earned during the 60-day notice period. So Uber and Lyft are, and of course Uber and Lyft are claiming that these were not actually employees, that they're contractors, and that they don't have the same protections that full-time employees enjoy.
So now we have that situation that people experience. I'm sure most people do. A lot of people with jobs experience this, right? When your big boss tells you to do one thing, and you're maybe a boss under him, another one of your bosses over you tells you to do something opposite.
Yeah.
And you're basically like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to do because you're giving me conflicting messages. But they can't do that in this situation.
Yeah. So I mean, it's. I mean, these companies are getting double fucked, like double penetrated. One by the government, one by their own workers. It's like, dude, what did you want us to do? We get fucked if we stay. We get fucked if we leave. Like this is great. Like the government's gonna get you no matter what. Yeah. If you stay, we're gonna make you do fingerprint-based background checks. If you leave, we got a law in place that your employees now can sue the shit out of you. Welcome.
Yeah, and all the people that were making a living are screwed. And all the people that were making a living were doing so with voluntary transactions. They were helping people. They were competing in the marketplace against taxi companies. They were out competing taxi companies.
Oh yeah,
completely on price and service level.
I've never used it. I think I've used a taxi once in Dallas, but I've definitely used Lyft 100 times.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the one time I used a taxi made me use a Lyft,
Yeah.
going forward.
Yeah.
So I have a follow-up to your story.
Okay.
That's kind of like here's the uplifting story. Here's the future.
Here's the opportunity.
And it's very subversive. But what I mean by that is we've talked on a few of our recent shows about the different technologies that are coming out that are unregulatable. In the same way like DRM and DMCA type regulation of audio and video and copyrighted content is kind of null and void and a moot point. Once we have BitTorrent, that anyone can connect to, mostly anonymously, free and clear of regulation, to download guns, 3D printed guns, things like that we've talked about recently. This type of decentralized, that's kind of the name for it, decentralized technology that has no central company, person, organization, central entity that the government can come and just beat down when they don't follow the rules. This decentralized technology doesn't have that. So there is no central point of weakness for the government to extort or to threaten. And so we have that now coming for ride sharing, for what'd you call it? Ride hailing.
Yeah.
And the service is called Arcade City. So this is another app you put on your cell phone that, just like you do with Uber or Lyft, you can, call for rides. I think right now you only schedule them in advance. You can be like, I'm going to need a ride at this day and time to this place. But, eventually they're going to have the actual real-time ride hailing like they do in Uber and Lyft. Other people that are drivers can see those requests, can post their pricing. So you now, because there's no central entity setting pricing or controlling anything, that's important. Like none of the requests, none of these transactions go through a central company. So no central company takes a piece of the pie when these transactions happen. And there's no one to jump in the middle and regulate. So the individual drivers can set their pricing based on market competition. So if all the drivers in their city are really slammed, they can raise their price that day. But on any other day when, maybe there's plenty of free drivers, they're not going to be able to charge people that much because they're in competition. So now we have inter-ride sharing service competition. You get the government out, you get more freedom, you get more competition. Prices drop, prices and demands fluctuate to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And so basically, without getting like too super technical, it is decentralized, meaning there is a corporation that's developing the technology, but it's blockchain based. And that's, for non-technical people, all that means is that a bunch of computers run by random people, not the corporation in question, not any one central place, but a bunch of computers work together to agree on how a service should function. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. And so when you put this kind of ride-sharing service on a technology like that, now you just have a bunch of random computers that are all working together to process this environment, this solution, this product.
The information.
Yeah. And in this particular one, they're using Ethereum, which is a particular type of blockchain technology that I would love to get more into in future, maybe kind of nitty-gritty details, interviews, and things like that. Mm-hmm. But for today, let's just keep it light. So we have this app that automatically, transparently, with no in-depth user knowledge of how this stuff works, just works. And it works with no central command and control that the government can beat down. So it's operating right now in Austin, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah. They would have to send cease and desist orders to thousands of people.
What about the ones in other countries?
Right.
Do you think Russia cares what Austin, Texas has to say?
Obviously not, since they're holding Edward Snowden right now.
So they're effectively, at least in the current geopolitical environment, they're unshutdownable, unregulatable. That's the future.
Yeah.
That is so exciting to me.
Definitely.
So they're basically pioneering it in Austin right now because it's the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Austin got Uber and Lyft driven out of the city, so here comes Arcade City. It's really kind of exciting. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the regulators are calling it the black market of ride sharing.
Because it's a great word.
Yeah, it conjures up these, back alley, shady, scary.
Definitely gives it a bad connotation immediately.
These are the exact same drivers that are working for Uber and Lyft that are now just switching to this.
Yeah.
So calling them black market drivers makes them seem like criminals.
Yeah.
And I guess they technically are criminals.
Are they?
But they're just people.
Are they criminals?
They're criminals because they're breaking the ride sharing laws. They're breaking the law. They're criminals. Doesn't mean they're bad people.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just wondering if I guess are they really technically breaking the law? They're not working for a company.
Exactly. I don't think it's been tested in court. But even if it was, what are they going to do?
That's the beauty of it. It's not these drivers are not working for any company. They're just using a tool to connect to people that want to use their vehicle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I did have one question though. In this kind of scenario, how do the developers that develop this technology, how do they make money? What is the incentive model of this type of venture?
So right now, I don't think there is a direct way they make money off of it aside from donations because they're trying to get it kickstarted.
Okay.
But I think the next steps for them are, so right now it's mainly the drivers, and this is kind of cool. The drivers get to pick how they get paid. So if the buyer and seller agree on terms, right? So if you're going to schedule a ride and you're going to say, well, I'd prefer to pay PayPal or I'd prefer to pay with cash or Bitcoin, then the drivers can also specify how they will accept payment, and you match your wants with you match your wants and needs with what they want and need, and everyone makes a voluntary transaction that they both agree with.
Yeah. So
right now there is the payments are not processed through any kind of central agency of any kind because it's decentralized.
That is a kind of a chink in the armor though, the PayPal, because the government can regulate PayPal transactions.
Yes. Right now it's multiple, right? Yeah. Obviously they can always take cash. PayPal Bitcoin.
Bitcoin's the one. Yeah.
Bitcoin. Yeah. And so again, Bitcoin is unregulatable.
It's the best. What was I going to say? And I'm sure they could probably like increase the rate if they're picking them up in Mercedes as opposed to just a Ford Focus, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And I think they're actually, they're innovating on top of it. Like they call it gamification, where their drivers and passengers will have like a level. They'll level up.
Oh, that's cool.
So like the more you use the service, the higher your level is.
Oh, yeah.
And so the higher level people, their reviews of drivers and of passengers are weighted higher. There's benefits to actually being a good citizen and getting good reviews.
Oh, yeah.
So to level up, you have to get good reviews and you have to use the service and
So maybe as you level up, you also get a higher rate too, possibly.
Well, yeah, I'm sure the levels will indicate, quality of service. So your best drivers are going to be higher level, so they might be able to charge a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if let's say you have some critical ride, you got to get to the airport by a certain time, you're probably going to shy away from the level 1 drivers because they're unproven, and you're going to go pay, maybe $1 or $2 more for the level 10 driver that will arrive on time and get you to the airport.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
That's way better than the Uber model, because with an Uber model, you can only really select what kind of class of vehicle that you're going to drive in. You don't get that detailed control over who your driver is going to be.
It's the innovation that gets me excited.
Yeah.
You don't get this from government.
Well, who doesn't love like super awesome services that you can use throughout your daily life?
With just great ideas, meeting customer needs with no coercion force.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the story.
And the government can't fuck it up.
Let's talk about government fucking it up next.
All right.
That was the best segue of the show.
Yeah, right.
So the FBI, the fuck up
Bastards.
Bureau of Idiots.
The Fuck Up Bastards Incorporated.
And now we're on a watch list. Another one.
Yeah.
So
I'm not. I didn't say anything.
Yep.
I'm clear.
Don't show your face.
I won't.
So these
FBI.
stories, we always lose liberty in like one of two situations: security threats and child pornography. Just like crimes that are so
those are good
heinous
too.
that to argue for civil liberties makes you seem shady.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what people miss is that in these investigations, today we're going to talk about child pornography investigations.
Yeah.
In these investigations, though, an important part of our legal system is that you are innocent until proven guilty. And so we're not talking about a child pornographer. We're talking about a guy on trial for child. So he is still innocent and should be innocent in most everyone's eyes until proven guilty. Anyway, that's an aside. But here's what happened. And this is shady on its own, government. On Tor, an encrypted, privacy-centric section of the internet, there was a child pornography website. And the FBI did an investigation, located the server running the website, and instead of just shutting it down, they took it over. They took control of this child porn web server.
Kept it running.
Kept it running
Awesome.
for months.
Oh, good.
With, ostensibly so that they could catch all the people connecting to it. I got that. I understand that. But in the process, you're, for months, sharing child pornography.
Yeah.
The government is doing something that they're literally trying to prosecute other people for doing.
They do that all-
in the same transaction.
They do that all the
They're
time.
like, we're going to share child porn, and then when you download it, we're going to accuse you of having child porn.
Yeah. How about selling drugs, or how about selling weapons to drug dealers in Mexico?
Yeah, so yet another example
Yeah.
of, right for me, bad for you.
Do as I say, don't not as I do.
Anyway, so they take over the server and they start running it for a while, and and so they go and get a warrant because they want to put malware, which is basically sort of like a mini virus, on the web server, so that anybody going to this website will get the virus, and the virus will download to the person's computer, grab some details from the computer, and send it to the FBI.
Right.
So they're basically trying to track these people, right? So they go to a judge and they ask for a warrant. And the warrant that they get from the judge literally says that it's like a blanket warrant. We now have permission to infect any number of people's computers, hack any number of people's computers, gain access to any number of people's computers with this virus, and with no individual search warrant necessary. So this is like the one of the biggest examples of like a blanket search warrant, where a fill in the blank name
Blanket
type.
surveillance?
Blanket
They don't do that. They don't. Mass surveillance is not. That's not even real.
We need a sarcasm. line.
That's sarcasm. That is definitely sarcasm. I can tell.
Yeah. Oh, you got it.
If
that time.
Casey can tell,
I understand.
I
He's
was laying.
dripping.
I was laying it on strong.
Yeah.
Dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So
Props.
so they took over a server. They infected a bunch of people without individual warrants. They just got some kind of magical blanket warrant that invades everyone's privacy. Even if you were connecting to the website not for the purposes of child pornography. Let's say you were in the press. Let's say you were doing research. Let's say you were just randomly browsing around and clicking through something. You go to the site. You are now somehow magically covered under this blanket search warrant. Your computer is invaded. Your details are sent off, and now you're part of a child pornography investigation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that a link to the site could have been misrepresented. Like, you know, people play stupid ass jokes on the internet all the fucking time.
Yeah. So that's a thing now. And of course, people are challenging it. The Electronic Frontier Foundation filed an amicus brief in the court trying to say, oh, this is absolutely freaking devastating for personal privacy and our Fourth Amendment rights. Again, like this piece of paper is not doing such a good job
I have it
protecting our rights, is it?
I tape it on my computer.
Oh, well, then you're perfectly safe.
I'm safe, dude.
Okay.
I've got all kinds of bad shit on this computer, but I know it's secure.
Well, that's out there now. So the implications for this decision, if upheld, are staggering. Law enforcement is basically now free to remotely search and seize information from your computer without a warrant, without probable cause, or without any suspicion at all. So
Truth.
read 1984. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, ever since I read that book, my entire life is just like, oh, I read about that.
I really think that we should just make it easy and put telescreens in our rooms. I mean, God.
No, they just turned our computers into telescreens.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So that is an important story.
My computer needs to be labeled correctly. It's not my computer anymore. It's just a telescreen.
It's what is it? It's an Asus
telescreen.
Telescreen. I have a Dell Alienware telescreen. An alien screen. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a telescreen XL.
Oh God.
Denali!
It's funny sad. It's funny sad. Yeah, so the FBI is completely off the rails. Your and I don't say my or our, your Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, is not protecting you at all. Again, give up. Give up on this concept.
The
It's not
Constitution gives the government pay cuts every time they violate it. Obama comes on the TV. He's like all bandaged up. So, my fellow Americans, my hands are stinging.
working. Yep. Kaysen's quiet for that story.
He was using Tor just a second ago.
He's like, oh crap! I gotta clear this off.
Reformat.
Give me a copy of the Constitution. I'll just rub it around and see if that protects us.
I'm making it a point to not put on my camera this entire show. I'm just going to be a disembodied voice. So no one knows who I am.
Constitution oil.
Okay.
Just rubbing on here.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
He's ashamed of us.
Yeah.
I'm so secretive.
Okay.
Secretive.
In another story of the government fucking it up,
What happened?
what happened was the United States government killed some innocent people.
Oh, innocent. I thought you said menacing. I was like, oh, really?
What's different about this story is that they admitted it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
Like right when it happened, they just went, oops.
Which makes you wonder. So this is a drone story, which makes you wonder, the people flying these drones, what do they say?
When they fuck up,
I mean,
I don't know. They're probably drones themselves, right? Oh,
yeah.
droning along.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It was funny, sad. It was, I mean, that was a good joke, but it was sad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
on July 1st, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released numbers for what it claims are combatant and non-combatant deaths for drone strikes in countries outside of formal war zones. You want to process that?
Outside of formal. Well, I like the word the Department of National Intelligence. Or
Office
something.
of the Director of National Intelligence.
No. You need to change the last word.
So what that means
Get a
is
dictionary. Okay, go ahead.
they released the numbers of deaths caused by drone strikes outside of official war zones.
Yeah.
That's the summary.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So-
there's no wars being conducted right now that are like official wars, are there?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like not like
Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq are officially
Okay, so
classified as war theaters. Theaters of war right now, right?
what kind of phrasing is that? A war theater? This ain't no play. People are really dying.
Broadway.
So Iraq was the only one that wasn't an official war then.
Iraq's on the list now. Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq
they just-
are currently war zones.
They just changed the classification of it after we were done with the war.
It's just an important caveat for this number of deaths.
Oh, it's just
So-
like they're just going back in the book. It was a war. Sorry.
So there's so many little details you can tease out of this.
Yeah.
Why are we bombing outside of war zones?
Because this is America. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
The earth is our war zone. So this means countries, basically Yemen, Pakistan, Somalia, and Libya are the places that these drone strikes took place that are not classified as war zones.
You ready for the numbers?
Hit me.
Okay, there you go. Numbers up.
Outside groups, so basically you're looking at a little over 400. A little over 400 people killed outside of war zones. Let me pull that up.
473.
473.
Almost 500.
That is, I got to pull it up here. Okay. Yeah. So 473, that's combatant deaths. Out of those 473 drone strikes, combatant deaths are between 2,300 and 2,500 combatants, enemy combatants outside of areas of active hostilities. Non-combatant deaths, which is a very pretty way of saying people we fucking murdered,
Right.
that were innocent,
Yeah.
between 60 and 116. 64 and 116.
Wow. I want to do the math.
Oh, no, do it. Do the math all day or day. So what that means is that 1 in 4 drone strikes murdered an innocent person. And that's just for areas outside of active hostilities. There's still innocent people that have nothing to do with any war against the U.S. in areas of active hostilities, and we don't get those numbers.
Yeah. I've heard terrible figures. I don't know if they're accurate or not, but I've heard some really bad figures about those, or bad numbers about those drone
Absolutely.
strikes. Yeah.
I mean, so what I'm talking about today, though, is just the areas outside, because those are the numbers that the government just admitted to. The government just admitted to killing 60 to 120 people.
And when was
To me, that's monumental. What are we? I did it. I said we. I said we. I want you to just
Alert.
like.
we killed the innocents.
We has been alerted.
I want you to just like just punch me every time I say we like that.
Wait.
So
We're at a 5-minute time interval now. We need to press our collective drone launch button.
thank you. So the American government, the American people that identify as American peoples,
Yeah.
just admitted to murdering some people. What are they doing about it? Are they over there trying to find these families and try and make restitution however they can?
Now they're creating new enemies of America. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. So that's just what the government admits to.
Yeah.
Sources inside the government, though, report that well, let me read you the government statement when they were criticized. Outside groups have basically claimed, oh no, it's far higher. It's between 200 and 1,000 non-combatants.
There's always
outside
large discrepancies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the government responded saying the U.S. government draws on all available information, including sensitive intelligence, to determine whether an individual is part of a belligerent party fighting against the United States in an armed conflict, taking a direct part in hostilities against the United States, or otherwise targetable in the exercise of national self-defense. Thus, the U.S. government may have reliable information that certain individuals are combatants, but are being counted as non-combatants by non-governmental organizations. Summary, trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us. Our numbers are more accurate than yours. Don't worry about it. When we can't tell you because it's sensitive, it's classified,
Yeah.
it's secret.
This is the same group of people that are losing 5 million plus a day in the postal service.
Yes.
They can't count the number of dollars coming in and subtract the number of dollars they're spending and go, oh, we're not doing so good.
So sources inside the government in response say that actually the government, when they're doing these drone strikes and they're counting the death toll and putting them into column A or column B, murder or justified murder, they basically just assume they're all justified murder unless evidence just comes to them.
Yeah.
Unless there's something obviously to prove that those were non-combatants, they just assume they're combatants.
Because, there's a fucking CSI team that goes to every drone strike
and really tries to hold the government accountable.
Yeah,
The
and
Army
picks up the fucking thousands of body parts everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, what possible interest would the Army have to send somebody behind to hold the Army accountable for killing people, innocent people?
No, because
of course not.
that works against them.
Yep.
Yeah, innocent people die all the time because of America, not because of us, because of America.
Thank you. All right, Obamacare.
Yeah. This is a little update, a little tidbit of information.
I like the arrows in the,
It turned out to be a good target for target practice.
funny.
So between the end of January and March, Obamacare enrollment dropped by 1.6 million people, which is about a 13% drop. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services say that they are still running strong, though, because they are in that about 80 to 90% retention range. This is a quote from Breitbart. Of the remaining 11.1 million users, 9.4 million, or about 85%, were receiving subsidies averaging $291 a month to help pay for their premiums. So 9.4 million people are receiving $291 a month from the government for Obamacare. That comes out to about $2,735,400,000 of stolen money per month.
Wow. Stolen productivity, stolen lifeblood.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We have some really cool content coming up. We played the Libertarian National Debate, the second one, the most recent one, and had some awesome commentary. And one of the things we got into was exactly how many times the government just shoves their hand into people's wallets along the entire supply chain of the guys that dig the resources out of the ground, to the guys that refine it, to the guys that assemble it, to the guys that create an end product, to the employees of all of these companies' income tax, to the sales tax that they pay when they spend their paychecks. Like the government is literally there. Well, I don't want to go over the entire thing again, but we have some cool content coming up.
Yeah, people think about it on too much of a micro scale. If they looked at it at a macro scale, they would see exactly how much the government is taking.
Yep.
What's like an average wage for people? What do you think most people make? Like 20, 30K a year, somewhere in there? Whenever they're getting started off for entry-level jobs, that sort of thing?
Probably Google that up.
Yeah, it's probably around
30 to, it's probably 50, 55, something like that.
average.
I bet that's average. Like if you averaged all income, 50, 60, somewhere.
No idea.
What do you think?
Poverty line is like 33,000, I think. Right?
So based on the numbers, I'm kind of doing some little calculations over here, but based on the 2.735 billion figure, if you divide that by $50,000 per year, right, for a little family going on, that's 54,000 families that made $0 if we didn't spread it out across all the people, but just hammered
Yeah.
It's one person's income. They would have just been completely obliterated.
Yeah.
54,000 people.
That's a great way to think about it. Like how many families everything they did all year long to earn money, how many families did you just destroy?
Yeah.
Take everything they have, right?
No, they spread it across everybody.
Yep.
Yep.
Smart. Yeah. So we're kicking ass on the camera front. You have to half press that shutter. I think we forgot about it. Oh, okay.
Kicking ass, taking names.
That was my bad. I forgot to do that. All right. So I think that wraps for today, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to give a personal shout out to our Patreon supporter, not ers yet, because we have one hero that's signed up first.
We are one strong.
Thank you so much for being the first one. It's awesome just to have the money's almost even an afterthought, although it, of course helps, but just to have somebody putting their wallet where their mouth is and saying, hey, I like what you're doing. I think it's great in the world. Here's a couple bucks in your hat. I love that. It pumps me up. It gets me motivated to work hard and make more content.
Pumps me up.
So thank you to that. Thank you, Kaysen, for all the crap load of time and hours that you've spent helping us improve. I want to make sure that we never forget to thank people that are helping.
Yeah, and you guys can't see it, but we have an ostentatiously, I don't know if that's the correct use of that word, huge soundboard, sound mixer right here.
We are really pimping it right now.
Yeah.
I think we need to show off our studio sometime.
That thing probably weighs a good 150 pounds or something. I don't know.
It's got this button right.
Oh, where'd it go?
That's what it does. The whole thing, it just lets me mute the mics.
Yeah.
1,000 buttons over here that no one can see, and do it right here. I just mute the mics.
I like this one.
Yeah. All right. So
awesome.
You can see the
yeah, they can
sweet.
see the board now.
Look at this awesomeness. Yeah. I love it. Anyway,
it's lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree.
That is a Christmas tree, because that's all the Christmas presents you're going to get this year, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, thanks for watching. If you found this informative.
I think I
just forfeited my right to ask for donations with that. If you found it informative, useful, or entertaining, please check us out on the socials. Consider tossing a few coins in our hat. We have Patreon. We have fun. What?
So fucking toss a coin at your face.
Don't say me and speak properly.
Yeah, it's not we, bitch.
Don't forget the nameplates. Thanks
I literally just did it. I literally just did it again.
Damn it.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.